All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Run.down. Following a very thrilling and exciting Knicks loss to the Celtics, where we lose again by 20. Hey, we lost by 20 this. Actually, no, we lost by 13 this time. Only 13. That's progress in my world.
That's progress. That's
After
a moral victory.
Yeah, exactly. We take moral victories over here at the Run.down. Knicks lose 118 to 105 to the Boston Celtics. They are 0-3 against the Celtics, 0-7 against the top three teams in the East, or rather the top three teams in the NBA. If you haven't heard that stat already, you've probably heard it ad
Multiple
nauseum
times in the broadcast.
because somehow, some way, the Knicks keep losing to the top teams in the East. A lot of things to talk about. A lot of opinions I have. I guess we start with the negative because there's a lot of negative to talk about in this game.
What negative do you want to start with?
Mikal Bridges being soft. Let's just get
we can get to it. I thought it was very funny. It was the second quarter. I forget how much they're down by. They're down by probably 25 or something like that at that point, right? And Legs is like, with Hartenstein and Dante gone, this team lost its edge. It's basically just like Towns and Bridges are soft. And he's not wrong, right? Like, Bridges is better than Dante. I think we can agree on that, but Dante plays with an edge that Mikal doesn't.
Hartenstein
plays with an edge that Towns doesn't, on defense at least, right? Like Towns is weird on offense, but right, like that's what it is. And there was no urgency for what until
third quarter,
6 minutes in the third quarter, right? Like there was no urgency, like no one did anything, and then they threw in a lineup. They took Mikal out, but it was Cornet and Horford as the front court. Please cook them. Show up, do something. I know Bridges' stat line looks a little better than it was because he was making some baskets at the end of the game, but like he wasn't good. What's his name? OG didn't show up again, right? The Knicks,
which you can at least excuse because like he's coming back from
injury. He's come back off like a foot sprain, right?
Yeah.
And we saw the same exact thing with the that we saw in Cleveland, just terrible pick and roll defense. But in this time, instead of the actual rolling, getting behind the defense, they just continually sit when the Celtics are looking to shoot threes. Every single play, they're looking to shoot threes, and they just kind of give these perfect in rhythm. Luckily, Porzingis missed a good amount because he had like some really good open looks. It honestly, like it's really rough to watch these games. Like these last two games were brutal. The score, I don't know if anyone missed the game. The Knicks were not in this like 13 points, right? Like this was another complete beatdown than the run where the Celtics, where you need to get off your take because I think it's actually true because of what the broadcast was saying about Mazzulla after the run.
The fact that the Celtics are actively taking.
Yeah.
Okay. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I think with 6 minutes left to go in the third quarter, Mazzulla runs a lineup. He takes out 4 starters. He puts in the bench unit. So the bench unit is Pritchard, Hauser, Horford, and Cornet. That's essentially their bench unit. He leaves them in with Tatum. And then the Knicks go on this run, and they cut the lead to like 4 at one point. And people are like going crazy, and they're like, oh my God, like the Knicks are getting back into it. And in my head, I'm like, this lineup sucks. I think I tweeted about it in the moment. I was like, this lineup sucks. What the hell is Mazzulla doing? And then in the fourth quarter, they interview Mazzulla, and they're like, you gave us 39 points in the quarter. What happened? And he's like, this is good for us. And I was like,
yes.
Oh, so they actively tanked the game. They wanted to actually make it a challenge. They wanted to see what the Knicks could do because they have been beating them so bad. So this game was realistically a blowout. And the only reason why it was close for a little bit was because Joe Mazzulla is neurodivergent.
That's a polite way to put it.
Like,
it works for him though, honestly, right? Like I think that's actually really interesting. Like his quirks as an individual really resonate with the Celtics to a degree, and it resonates in like this almost like bizarro. Was it like no? What's the guy's name who's like ball don't lie, ball don't stop, or whatever type of logic? Like it's almost like bizarro logic of that resonates with them.
Rasheed Wallace.
No, what's the guy? Who's the guy who like ball don't stop? Who's always like like the Hezzy Jimbo? You know who I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, okay. You just ball don't stop. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That guy, right? It's like Joe Mazzulla's like bizarro version of that, but it works, right? Because like everything he does, there's like a weird.
There's intent. There's intent.
Yes.
And he like thinks it over like 5 different times. Like this guy's legitimately, and I don't mean this derogatorily.
Yeah. Like,
if you could create a NBA coach that was very clearly on the spectrum, as somebody on the spectrum, that would be Joe Mazzulla.
No, it is.
He is quite clearly like he is neoing this shit, and it doesn't make any sense. And he's like weird and quirky, and somehow it works because he legitimately is like, I treat this as like a thought exercise. That's why it works.
And he's also like, he also has what we always say, like the Tibbs mindset, right? Like he wants to win every single game. He wants to scrap every single game. He wants to blow teams out every single game, right? Like that is like Mazzulla's wired that way. Like he's kind of wired in that sense. And it's really funny. I think it's fairly amusing to watch because like he's always right for some reason.
It's fascinating. It's legitimately fascinating. Like he's the most interesting coach of the NBA to me because it's like he is very, very clearly like neurodivergent, but he's so fucking good at his job. Like
he really is. He gets the most. He's getting the most out of these guys, right? He's getting more out of them than Stevens ever did, than Ime has ever done.
Yes.
It's really annoying to watch now because before with the Celtics, when they were just kind of like jacking up their threes, because that was like their thing. You're just like, well, they take bad threes. So I was always fine if they made a bunch because like most of them were bad shots. But now they have blended in perfectly, getting into the paint, kicking out, passing the ball around the arc. Like there's like a nice cadence and a rhythm now to the Celtics, and it fucking sucks watching it. Because like the Knicks aren't that, right? Like it's like the complete antithesis of what the Knicks are doing, and it's like, terrible. Like they don't have a point guard. You know what I mean? Like they don't have a point guard.
It's just really react. It's really react with a bunch of guys who can hit pull-ups threes.
This
so is the simple. Modern NBA. Like this is legitimately what like the nerds think about. Like if you are an NBA nerd, you're basically like, you don't need a quote unquote point guard. You just need somebody who could like bend the defense with pull up threes and maybe to attack closeouts off of it. It's legitimately like the probably freshest take in what the idea of modern NBA spacing looks like. It's just a 5-out with rim protection with a bunch of guys who can really react and rotate defenses. It's fucking insane. And then their defense is like they have a bunch of point of attack guards. Like what the fuck do you do against this team? What the fuck? The weakest player is Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's a star caliber player.
Yeah, it's really annoying to watch. And the Knicks play into the Celtics' strength so significantly. Right? Like you saw it in the first quarter. Like right off the three that they got off Porzingis. Like that Porzingis 3 was a perfect, pop out, perfect pocket pass from Tatum. Towns is nowhere near his guy. He's dropping back. They don't get over the screen, and that's it. Like that's how you beat the Knicks. It's really that simple. Just put them in pick and roll, and that's all the Celtics do. The Celtics don't do anything on offense. They just do pick and roll, and then they react, and then everything is react off that. And they make the right read over and over and over again. Probably because Mazzulla fucking sees it, like all the passes and everything. Like they go, no, you got to do it this way. It works. Honestly, it just works. And the Knicks don't do that, and they should do that. Like it should pretty much just be kind of similar, right? It should be kind of similar to it, and they don't do it. And I know this is going to get some hate, even though the Celtics don't really do it that way. But remember the whole point of when Phil Jackson was here, and the whole thing with the triangle, with the read and react, is when something isn't there, right? When the offense isn't clicking, You have a specific set of things that you can do that will always get you a good look and that gets everyone involved. The Celtics have figured that out with just the basic pick and pop. The Knicks don't do that. The Knicks stand around, they bring up the ball slowly, and the teams load up on Brunson. That's it. Yeah. That's all it is. And they don't do anything. Like Towns is too busy trying to be a big man instead of shooting the ball more. Like you're not utilized. Like Towns needs to shoot threes in order for him to be efficient on the inside, right? Like that's kind of the balance that he needs to do at this point, especially how the NBA is.
And he also needs to take them trailing. Like the Celtics are literally sitting on his drives because they know that his first instinct is to drive to the basket.
It's not the Celtics though.
It's all good
Cleveland did it, and it's every single team that does it now. They just sit on every single drive
because nobody in the starting lineup has a quick trigger. Nobody on the team has a quick trigger except for Campaign.
He's the only one.
He's legitimately the only person who will get movement downhill, and his first thought is, "I will take a pull-up three."
Yeah, like Campaign is ready, and honestly, he kind of kept the Knicks in the game, being
the second quarter.
They were still down 20, but the Celtics could have easily pulled to 30. This could have easily have been the Cavs game over again.
Yes,
but Campaign and honestly, Campaign, Landry Shamet, it was Deuce, Landry, Precious, and Towns, but it was mainly Shamet and Payne just being moved. They're running around, they're moving, and they're making quick decisions.
They're hitting both threes. They were hitting above the big threes. How you beat the Celtics offensively is you need to be willing to take the threes that they take, and you need to be able to make them. Yes. That is how you beat the Celtics. Okay. Hi, Kevin. I've been waiting for you. All right. Tyrese refuses to believe his life when it comes to Deuce McBride. Tell me the lineup that they played in that comeback with Deuce McBride on the court, and I want you to tell me really and truly and honestly, what did you notice Deuce McBride do? What is Deuce McBride good at? The thing that Deuce McBride is really, really good at. Doug, I know you know this. What is Deuce McBride good at? Really, really good at. More than anything else, his best skill on defense.
His best skill is just being able to play point of attack basically 94 feet.
Against who?
Smaller guards. That's
what did the Celtics run in the third quarter when the Knicks made the quote-unquote comeback?
Yeah, they ran their small guards, right? They had Pritchard. They had Pritchard,
they had Hauser, they had Horford, they had Cornette, and they had Tatum. So
right,
you have one small guard. So
Hauser, right? Then you have a small guard in Pritchard. Hauser can't dribble. Horford can't dribble. Cornette can't dribble. And it's just Pritchard and Tatum who create. And that works. Also, for Deuce went 1 for 7 and didn't make any of his threes, right? Like he did not shoot the ball well. He was fine, I guess, defensively. Like he was fine. He wasn't really a problem. He didn't help the team either.
Thank you.
The only way, so he helps. He helps in a sense where he's not soft. That's the one thing he isn't, right? Like he's not soft. Like he's not Mikal Bridges soft. He will go in. He does it terribly, but he will drive. He will try to dunk on people. He will get into people's airspace. He will D up. He does all those things because he's not soft. But again, there's a limitation to Deuce that the Knicks don't have the roster to maximize him, right? Remember how we're you need a Lonzo Ball type guy on the wing to kind of help create to really maximize Deuce that's what they really need, and they don't have that guy on the roster right now. So it stinks, but no, he's not going to help against the Celtics unless he's matched up against Pritchard.
Not to mention offensively, they would just do the same thing they do with Hart, which is put a big on him, because they know if you put a big on Deuce McBride can't do anything. He's not going to get his shot off against a big.
Yeah, Deuce is really interesting because I think his next step, what he needs to actually do is he needs to have the pull-up mid-range game, actually.
He's a floater.
Right, yeah, he needs that because he really doesn't get to the rim, but he does have touch at the mid-range. He's pretty automatic when he does a pull-up mid-range shot. He doesn't always do it, but he's pretty automatic. He needs that with a floater, then we're talking, because that's when he can really open up.
He also needs to have strength. The problem with my issue with
He'll have the strength eventually, right? Because he's going to be a father, so he will get dad strength. But that's not going to be until next. That won't be until next year, though. Until the baby needs to be born in order to get dad strength. So we need to wait a year in order for that to happen.
No, I think the baby should be born by the time the new season starts. So no, we should be good.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be another year from now, right? Yeah. Like it's going to be next season before Deuce capitalizes on the dad strength.
Yeah, but like the problem with the Knicks is similar to the issues that the Knicks had against the Cavs 2 years ago, where it's basically nobody trusts the fifth. Like, and it's different because like it's not Isaac Okoro, it's Josh Hart, and Josh Hart can still give you like 15. And he can still like punish you. But the issue is the Knicks lack a second person on the team who can realistically hit pull-up threes, hit unassisted threes, and be able to do things offensively that put a team in motion. Mm-hmm. Josh Hart puts a team in motion.
Yes.
But he doesn't shoot. He doesn't shoot as well as he should. Deuce McBride can shoot, but he doesn't put a team in motion.
Yes.
And the Knicks don't have somebody who can do both. And that's where you miss Dante. Because Dante, at his worst, will take a 28-foot three, and the defense has to respect it.
You have to, because he will make them.
And that's also where they miss IQ. Because IQ, like the Knicks have never been in a situation where they've had one advantage creator, and in their best lineups have one advantage creator. The Knicks always had Dante. They always had IQ. At some point, they had three of them. Now, the Knicks only have one, and the only person of the team who can realistically pull up shoot in the starting lineup is Brunson, and he's been afraid of it all year.
Well, they also don't have what Hartenstein provided, which was ball movement, if that makes sense, right? Like his ability to run around, set screens, do dribble handoffs, keep everyone connected, like Towns has more passing of like creating the shot, like creating the assist, versus Hartenstein, who's like keeping the ball moving. I think those are two different types of passing.
Yes.
Hartenstein has both. Towns has like the creation part where he can take the ball, throw it down the court. He can do certain things. Towns isn't doing dribble handoff.
You're not doing delays with Carl.
Right. He's not doing that type of stuff. He could pass, but he doesn't do that. The Knicks don't have that either. The closest that they have to that is Ariel Hukporti, who's 2 years away, right? Like he's a rookie. He's nowhere near ready to be doing any of this stuff. Like that's it. It's just Hukporti.
And I think the Knicks understand that. Like the Knicks understand the fact that they need like some time. Like I think if you ask the Knicks internally, they're like, someone like Hukporti makes a lot of sense in 2 years. Someone like Campaign, it fits the ideal guard of what we ideally want behind Brunson, because he's a very bad facsimile of Brunson, but he's a facsimile of Brunson. I think they took a gamble on someone like Landry Shamet because he's 6'5", but he also previously, in another life before he tore his shoulder off the bone, was decent at hitting above the break threes. So like I think they understood what the archetypes that they needed, but it's just been not nearly as effective as I thought there was going to be. And realistically, they were banking on a Deuce sleep. Because if they were not banking on a Deuce sleep, he would have been gone at the Mikal deal. And he would have saved picks. But they clearly were like, he's on a really good deal. Like, at the very least, he's a rotation player who could maybe give us around, like, 1,500 minutes. So it makes, like, as a value proposition, you're going to bank on Deuce's upside and his ability to give you minutes rather than throw in rather than, like, keep picks and trade him.
Yeah.
So I get what they were going for. Like, I don't disagree with the moves they made in a vacuum. It's just the execution of those moves have been really, really poor. But I think they tried to like find solutions to them. They just haven't worked out. And that's why you need other transition cycles.
Yeah, I don't know if necessarily the execution was poor. It was ultimately like the benefit or like the logic like of it working, like the threading that needle needed to be very precise, right? Because if you look at it, Shamet is the Dante replacement in theory, right? Like Shamet is supposed to replace Dante coming off the bench, and he messed up his shoulder, right? Like
that happened in preseason. You can't do anything about that.
Yeah, and good for him. He rushed back, and he's been hitting a little more threes now, which is good. But like, you need more of that. Honestly, the combination of it really stinks because like the Wolves were not taking Mitch in a deal. They couldn't get anything for Mitch, so they had to throw in Dante. And I think we're kind of seeing what happens now that you don't have someone who's a legitimate, like, he was a legitimate pull-up threat, Dante.
Yes.
Like he's and for this team, and he worked perfectly. And he, again, like, I know he's not as good as Mikal. He's not as good on defense. Like, he wasn't that good. Like, I understand all that, but he was like, you can give him the ball and he will pull the trigger, and you have to respect it. That's gone. It's gone. Like, the Knicks don't have that guy on the roster. The closest is Brunson, and that's not Brunson's game.
Yeah, Brunson is never like. Brunson is weird because I think he's willing to take more pull-up threes if other guys are taking pull-up threes with him. Like,
yeah, and I think that's fair, because I think there needs to be some sort of balance with the like, like shooting and offense, because I know I don't like just jacking up threes. Like, that's not my thing. And I think the Celtics have kind of figured that out finally, which you could see, and I think the Knicks would prefer to do that. But that's not Brunson's game.
Yeah, he's not gonna be a guy who like takes 10 a game. Like,
yeah, like I would like that, but like, that's not his game. Like, that should be Mikal. It really should be more pick and pop with like Towns. Mikal needs to get more threes up. But the Knicks don't run anything really either. Like, there's even, when was the last time you just saw them maybe just do like a basic floppy set?
Yeah, like, I think
they don't do anything to like try to look to get open shots. It's ultimately they want the defense to collapse on someone in a kick out, which in theory works, but they're not doing it. So like, you need to figure out something else to do, and they don't have they don't do anything else. Like, there's nothing else. It's Brunson, save us.
Yeah, like, that's been the offense. Like, the release valves are like, Mikal's a good shooter from the corner. Obviously, OG's a good shooter from the corner, but they don't provide spacing. And the Knicks' spacing is worse than it is last year because they don't have pull-up threats. The only two pull-up threats of the team can't play together, and that's creating the issue. Like, you realistically can't play Brunson and campaign against like the elite of the elite. And ideally, that would be the offense that you would try to run. But then it's like, you have campaign at the point of attack. That's not
and that's not going to get you anywhere. Like, I'm always been more of like, Brunson is good on defense compared to others. Even with that, like, he's good because he competes.
Yes.
He's not good because like he's great at navigating screens. He's able to draw the fouls, which is a good thing. He's good in a very different sense. They need someone much better on defense in order to, like, I guess you can do Payne, Brunson, and then you need like Mikal to be like top. Right? You need like Mikal to be completely locked in at point of attack, and then you need OG to be doing it. Then you have the rebounding thing, because like OG can't rebound, Mikal can't rebound. Then you just leave Towns, who can rebound. So like you're at a rebounding deficit.
Yeah, like, it's like, I've been thinking about like the ideal player that would fix the issue. Like, I have kind of been like, okay, no, they need a fourth wing, and I'm like, no, they really don't need a fourth wing. Like, the wing depth is like mostly fine, and they have Donnie as like a long-term bet. But yeah, it really just comes down to like, damn, I wish we had Derek White. Like,
do you want to know how many rebounds both Mikal and OG had today?
0.
No, they had a total of 2 combined.
They had 2. Mikal had 0.
Right? Can you imagine that? Like, between those two combined, like the Celtics won the rebound battle 52-46, and 2 of your guys who are what? They're over 6'6", 6'7", right?
6'6",
like they're big dudes. He gave you 2 rebounds.
Like, that's true. That's why Josh Hart has to start.
Like, right, exactly. Like, Josh has to start. Right, and then you're like, why is Josh Hart playing? He should be off the bench. Like, yeah, ideally, but Josh Hart is also probably your best rebounder. And he's the only one who understands that you need to keep the defense. You need to not have a set defense. He's like the only one who registers that.
But he can't punish any. He can't like punish a team for not having a set defense unless it's like offensive rebounding or like back cuts. He can't do it with the ball in his hand.
Yeah, so like it's really tough for him, and he's the only one competing. He was again, he almost had a triple double tonight, which is kind of not tonight, this afternoon, which is kind of crazy to think about. But no, like, you're right. Who the ideal player is, like, they really need a second guy who can actually who can actually do some level of creation on the ball.
Like if they have Drew Holiday, for example.
Drew Holiday, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, like someone.
You see where we're getting at. It's like, oh, all the guys that the Knicks would probably ideally want on this team are on the Celtics.
Yeah, honestly, like you would, Derek White would be absolutely perfect. Drew Holiday would be absolutely perfect. I hate Peyton Pritchard with all of my heart.
He'd
perfect
be
on this team.
He'd be great.
Yeah, and it's basically you have Josh Hart filling that role admirably. Like he's
trying his best.
I honestly can't get mad at Josh Hart because he's doing everything that this team needs. He's like, I need the rebound, I need the hustle, I need to push the pace, I need the cut, but I also need to create and do all this sort of. He's doing everything you want.
Like legitimately, he's being asked, okay, I need you to run pick and roll, I need you to be the screener in pick and roll, I need you to rebound, I also need you to keep a defense honest. Like he is legitimately doing the most work in the starting five.
He is. He really
he's
is.
the only person in the league with that kind of motor.
He's the only one who can pull it off too. He's
also playing like 38 minutes a game.
Yeah, like he's insane that way. And it sucks. It sucks that it's just him. I can't really get too mad at Brunson. Brunson was really like he competes as well. Like it's the players, and then you have Tibbs who doesn't help at all. We really have kind of like almost full circled back to
2021
where like
2022.
Yeah, like we kind of like come back full circle where it's like, well, Tibbs is not doing anything, right? Like he's not really holding anyone accountable. He's just kind of going through the motions. He's doing every single game. It's the same start. It's the same thing over and over again. And we're here again. We're looking probably another second round loss.
Yeah, I mean, like they're gonna run to the buzzsaw of fucking Boston, and it's like they will maybe win a game.
They can't, like, it's not like they can't, because at any given time, Brunson will be the best player on the court.
Yeah, like they haven't figured out a way to really stop Brunson. Like, it's very clear, like, they haven't figured out a way to stop Brunson, so they're like, we're going to stop everybody else because Brunson will kill us.
Yeah, like, they are so focused on Brunson. You can even see, you can look, just go back at the, rewatch, actually don't rewatch the game, but, like, if you rewatch the game, everyone's looking at Brunson.
Yes.
They just look at him and they're just like that he is the only person that they care about.
And even defensively, like you could put him on Porzingis. Like you saw it, like Porzingis at the free throw line with Brunson because Brunson is strong.
Yeah, he gets in there. Like Brunson battles on defense. That's why I'm tired of people saying he's bad, because like he competes on defense.
He will try. He's not Trae Young. Like he will legitimately try.
And and you see that because that bears out in all the not the turnovers, they're like the offensive foul draws, right? Like
yes,
that's now bared out now, like 3 years in a row. He is like the top of the top because he's competing, he is getting in space, and he's doing exactly what you need to do as someone who doesn't have a plus wingspan and who doesn't have like the like that sixth sense on defense that like an OG has.
Yes.
So I can't get mad. It's the combination of it really is like this combination of like Tibbs.
Yeah, it's
Tibbs and now basically
Ross
Towns and Mikal being soft, right? Like it's like this crazy comment, and then the defense not being there. It's really rough to watch. Like we're seeing the ceiling of this team. It's capped. We're seeing the capping of it.
I just think it's like when Tibbs doesn't have guys who can like kind of ad-lib on their own, you can see the limitations in his coaching. Because you saw it in 21-22 when the Knicks did not have an all-star caliber player.
Nope.
Their best player was Emmanuel Quickly. And it was like, oh, the lineups are really bad. Why are the lineups still bad? And it's like, okay, Emmanuel Quickly has to save us now because we cannot maximize this talent. And the fact that talent is so good still gives you like a high floor. But yeah, he struggles to maximize talent. Or rather, not maximize talent, but like he struggles to make it. He struggles to optimize it.
It's not like a maximizing. It's a it really is. He puts a ceiling because everyone does have these specific career years under Tibbs, so he does understand certain things. It's more of a when something happens, right? You see something like the Celtics basically came out, like punched the Knicks in the mouth. What's the response? Are they going to do something different? Are there going to be any sort of adjustment, anything different? And that's not the Knicks approach. The Knicks approach is like do the same thing every single day, just execute better. And that doesn't work when you're trying to win games against the best teams. You have to adjust. You have to be malleable. You have to be able to think of doing other different things. I don't know what those other things are, but you have to think of something. You have to do something different. Like, don't continue drop coverage against the Boston Celtics.
I think
you kind of need to know that.
You need to trust guys to switch, man. Like, Cat, his best strength on defense is being able to guard on the perimeter. Like,
because he
could guard wings.
Towns can't move backwards.
Yes.
Right, you know what I mean? Like, he's not someone who can move backwards.
But he can move side to side really well.
He moves side to side. So, like, just accept it, right? Just, like, kind of accept it. You weren't on the show, but Schwinn kind of made on, like, the Cavs loss. He was like, I don't think the Knicks practice. I think there's some truth to that, where, like, the starters don't practice because, like, they're not connected. They just kind of do, like, this thing of, like, nothing, no movement. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's, like, no practice going on. They don't trust anything, and they just play very rudimentary, almost like high school basketball. Like, that's what it is.
I'm pretty sure Harder has basically said out loud, like, they don't practice nearly as much as.
Yeah, so it's really frustrating to watch because this team is really talented, which is why their record is so good, which is why they can beat up and destroy Memphis and Denver, right? But they are clearly like that limited third tier of teams, and
they're the second tier. Like, there's three real chance. Like, okay.
No, I'm saying there's Boston and OKC. Then there's Cleveland. Then there's everyone else.
Yeah.
I'm still not completely sold on. I know they beat the shit out of us. I'm still not. I'm not that sold on Cleveland just yet. I'm still very much on, like, it's OKC and Boston, and Boston kind of showed that too because they literally they trolled us. Jones was like, let's make this a competition and get these guys to respond, and they did exactly that.
Yep. I've legitimately never seen that before. Like, I'm sorry. I get it. Like, I'm talking about the opposing coach, but I have never seen a coach actively tank his team for 6 minutes, give the other team false hope just to create a scenario where they basically have to fight themselves out of a deficit they caused. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. How many coaches in the league do that? Yeah, especially because, like, if you lose that game, you're getting destroyed. And it's like, he doesn't care.
Joe Mazzulla's on a different planet. And it's kind of funny. Like, he is on a completely different planet.
He is by far the best coach in the NBA. By far. I don't think there's anybody close to him. Maybe, you could say Diagonal, but, like, I don't think, I don't think Diagonal's there yet.
Rick James has 3 combined rebounds from Bridges and OG in the last 2 games.
You gotta start Deuce McBride.
That's on, like, you can't have that. Like, that's the type of thing, like, you can't have. And then it's really funny when it's like, you know, like, you got to start Deuce. OG and Anunoby doesn't rebound. You have to play Josh Hart. You have to. Like, what else are you supposed to do? Is OG and Anunoby going to magically start getting some rebounds? Like, he doesn't even box out. Like, if you go to the box out numbers, like, OG doesn't even box out. Like, it's wild. And, you know, we're really at the point now where it's Mitchell Robinson has to save this team.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't trust Mr. Robinson's ankles to hold up for a postseason.
Like, that's the point.
He's getting traded in the offseason. Like, this is, if Mitchell Robinson has to save your team, then it's like, that's an issue. It also doesn't help that the Celtics, like, we play drop with Mitchell Robinson, and the Celtics, like, you can't really switch with Mr. Robinson because I don't know how he's going to look mobility-wise. I'm assuming it's not going to be good.
Probably not.
He's had 3 ankle surgeries in a year.
He'll help against Cleveland.
Yes.
That's it. He'll help against Cleveland. Like, I think the Knicks have, like, no shot against Boston.
They will win a game because Jalen Brunson is a top 10 player in the NBA. They will win a game.
It's that. I don't think they have any shot. Like, and also, like, the current Knicks as they're playing, they also have no shot against Cleveland either. Those, like currently as, like, constructed, Mitchell Robinson will help. I don't think I don't know what they have to do. I think we're probably gonna have to point where we're talking about like trading Towns, getting a new coach. I think that's probably the path that this team is on right now.
I've always said, like, I've been saying Cat is a placeholder for another max guy, but they just needed a max salary that was productive, and they weren't going to give it to Julius Randle.
And well, they also who was Randle, as we just saw on this trade deadline. Who was Randle going to get?
Exactly.
Like the Timberwolves didn't even trade him. They couldn't trade him. Like, fortunately, Cat is better than Randle. Because of his shooting, his offensive ability, he does bring a chance that this team has in the playoffs, unlike Randle, who was a notorious playoff dropper. But Towns still, like, Towns' defense is not it. Just not it. It's not
feasible. Like,
it's not. You're not going to win a title with that defense. Not just, you can maybe try. I don't know. They should try to switch more. Like, I would like to just see if they just stop and just see what it looks like, to see if there's some sort of salvageability, because we know that when the Knicks play drop and they are not either blitzing the pick and roll, playing up at the level of the pick and roll, or switching, anything like that, the Knicks get cooked. Towns does not, like, as Clyde says, Towns doesn't see the ball, see his man. Doesn't see it at all, right? Like, he just has no concept of it. Doesn't see it. And again, it's Ariel Hukporti who's probably the best at it. Okay, with a rookie who just plays defense with his hands right now. It's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow right now, these past two games, because you see the ceiling. You see it.
Yeah. Okay. Again, Kevin, Precious sign and trade plus Deuce plus Washington pick for DDB this offseason, please, and thank you. The Timberwolves are never doing that.
They're not doing it.
Like, well, first of all, Precious Achiuwa is not a legitimate NBA player, and there's no way they're giving him significant money. Like, you can't bring him back. You cannot bring him back. The root of the issue is, like, he's playing a guy who actively gives you nothing. Like, I can understand if you can't shoot. You can not shoot, but you can still be effective. There are a bunch of players in the NBA who are still, like, positive offensive players, even if they can't shoot, because they can do things like set really good screens and play make in DHO, or, like, they're really, really good at making decisions on the short roll. The problem with Precious is he's just bad at everything offensively that isn't rebounding.
Yeah, they need you basically to salvage someone like Precious. You actually need a different coach, just to be like, hey, we're gonna try this with you, right? Like, that's the only thing I think, because Tibbs's adjustment with Precious has been, let's put him in the corner, and it's like, okay, so no one's gonna care.
I think the thing is, though, like, he's actually maximized Precious probably better than any coach. Because
this is the best Precious Achiuwa has ever been in his NBA's career, is when he became a Knick with Tom Thibodeau. This is why Tibbs is still a good coach. The problem is, we're seeing now, well, they need more from Precious. So do you need him to be an intuitive player? He's not really an intuitive player. Like, he's not like Josh Hart.
Yeah. He just he cannot do anything with the ball in his hands. He does not know how to, like, find space. He doesn't finish well for a big. That's the big thing.
Unless it's a fast break, unless it's the fast break where it's just him. Like, he doesn't really do it. He doesn't really have hands.
Yeah, he has no hands. And
it's rough. I mean, he's super athletic, he's super strong, and he can get rebounds, but he's not, like, putting stuff back.
Plus, he can't guard as a 4. Like, the problem with the Precious and Cat lineup is it doesn't fix anything. Precious is a 4, Cat's a 5, but ideally they should be a 5. Like, Precious should be a 5 on defense and a 5 on offense, and Cat should be a 4 on defense and a 5 on a 4 on offense. But the problem is Precious Achiuwa is small, so Cat still plays the 5 anyway.
Yeah.
So you have no benefit of Precious, and he's just an actively detrimental player.
That's it. Well, that's why we need, like I said, we're waiting for Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah, that's why they kept Mitch. And realistically, that's why they're going to keep Hukporti over Precious. Because at least if you have Hukporti on the team, Hukporti will play the 5 and offer rim protection and the ability for Cat to guard in space, which is where he's most effective. Yeah, but Precious doesn't give you any of the benefits of a center, but he plays like a center.
Yeah, he's like your third string center. That's what Precious Achiuwa is.
Yeah, but the problem is we've seen Tiz with his third string centers. He starts them.
Yeah, I know. He does. He starts them.
Like that's the.
I know. He starts them.
God. Jericho Sims is better. Like I can understand the logic of starting Jericho Sims. I can understand that logic. I'm like, okay, you know what? Jericho Sims has really good screens. He gets offensive rebounds, and like at the very least can run a DHO. Precious doesn't do any of that.
No.
None. Like he sets bad screens.
He does set bad screens.
Like he sets worse screen. Like you should not set worse screens than Karl-Anthony Towns. Karl-Anthony Towns sets bad screens, but at least I can understand why he sets bad screens because he's gonna go and flow into a pop.
He's going to get the ball and probably score. He's going to do something with the ball. Also, yes. the team's best screener is also Ariel Hukporti.
Yes, the team's best screener, probably the three best screeners on the team are Ariel Hukporti, Deuce McBride, and Josh Hart.
Yeah, those are the three best screeners.
Oh my god.
I'm telling you, it's really rough right now. It was great in that run that the Knicks had early in the season. We were beating up teams, and now that we're watching the actual good teams play, and it's just like there's just no. I don't feel any like the start of that game when they basically fouled Jaylen Brown within 5 seconds. I was like, oh, this game's over. I had no faith. Like I have no faith with this team against any legitimate competition right now, and it really sucks. And there's only three, like I said, like we just said, there's only three legitimate teams. I guess Denver because they have Jokic, but for some reason Towns can handle Jokic, which is really funny to think about. But that's because Jokic is a point guard basically, and Towns is fine doing that type of stuff.
Yeah. And I guess like this makes everybody like retcon what happened the last 12 months, like this stretch where people are somehow like, oh, I think the Mikal Bridges trade was one of the worst trades in NBA history, and it's like, what the Knicks pivots? When the Knicks traded out in salary, I'm pretty sure none of that salary is played in. Oh no, Shake Milton went out the deal. So
Shake played a little bit, but like he's not playing, and then Bojan has basically been continued to be injured.
Yeah, Bojan is done for the season. He didn't play a minute. Shake Milton has played probably 150 minutes total on the season, and Diakite, I'm pretty sure, is in the G League or in Europe. And it turns out he's in the G League. So,
there you go.
And mind you, the Knicks did not have enough salary to make the deal at the time it was announced. They needed to essentially wait for free agency and then give out sign and trade deals so they can beat tampering allegations.
They were doing some insane stuff. Again, like they trade some guy to Europe just to try to free space up to like get Isaiah Hartenstein's like maximum possible salary. Like they were doing, like Brock Aller was doing some crazy stuff this offseason to free up money. And it definitely was, I guess they're like, it's an overpay for Mikal, but like I don't think Mikal is like inherently like a problem with the team, if that makes sense, right? Like I know he's soft, but like he's not like this significant issue. Like he's actually someone at that salary playing above, like who's good and is playing above it. He's not playing well right now. He's not, and I understand that it's frustrating to see, but like he's still good, and he's definitely not I don't think he's like a problem with the Knicks in any sort of way. His defense has finally come around. It's just the offense and him just trying to avoid contact that
like I would say the deal doesn't get done without Dante last season. I don't think they're punting on 2 years of Dante for 2 years of Deuce McBride because they don't care about Deuce McBride. Majority of the NBA does not care about Deuce McBride. That's the reality of Deuce McBride.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's McBride is significantly more important to the Knicks than any other team. Similar to how Mitchell Robinson is significantly more important to the Knicks than any other team, which is why the Minnesota Timberwolves did not want either of them in a trade. They specifically wanted, they're like, it's Dante DiVincenzo or no one.
Or no deal.
And unfortunately, they kind of had to do the deal because that meant what would the Knicks lineup be if they didn't trade for Towns?
Sims would be starting.
That's what I'm saying. Like it would be like they're not doing they wouldn't do Randall's small ball.
No.
They wouldn't have OG at the 5 or Randall. Whatever it is, the front court would not be Randall or OG. So they had to get in a center. And this was probably the best play that they can actually get for someone like Randall. Now it's going to be they have to figure out something to do with Towns to find that next guy. I don't know who that next guy is going to be, but I don't think it's going to be Towns unless his defense magically gets better. Like I don't know.
The fact if he was like a median rim protector instead of the worst rim protector in the league, I think we feel a lot better about this team. Like
if he was Luke Cornett on defense.
Yes. The fact that Luke Cornett is like the baseline for him.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like the defense just isn't there.
Just get a hand up.
I guess I think the route would potentially be because it is going to be difficult to trade Towns. You probably need to try to do a different coach and then I think it probably has to be coach then Towns versus Towns then coach.
Yes,
if that makes sense.
I agree. Unless you get unless you get a Luka kind of deal. That's really the only thing.
Unless Nico Harrison is calling up and being like, we'll give you Giannis for Towns.
Yeah, exactly. He takes over the Bucks front office for like 10 minutes and then they work on a deal.
Like other than that, like I don't know what other moves that they have for the front office. Because you have to wait to see, you have to wait on Huck Porty and you have to wait on WA.
Yeah, it's again, I think this is year one, and the fact that they made the final move right before training camp starts, like it doesn't give you a chance to like at least see the layout of free agency and see who can maybe pick up on a minimum or whatever. But yeah, like the Knicks kind of were boxed in with the moves because this is the last year of Jalen Brunson contract. This is the cheapest he will ever be. He's only making $24 million. You had to find a center. You had to trade Randall. You had to trade Bojan. And all these moves needed to be done by the time the season started because otherwise you wouldn't have enough salary to make these moves in the first place.
Yeah, no, they really got boxed in, and it really sucks too that Oklahoma City had the cap space to overpay for Isaiah Hartenstein.
Yes. Because
Hartenstein was not signing anywhere. He even said that. He was signing nowhere else unless a good team overpaid for him, and that is exactly what happened.
Yeah. Like, that's just the issue the Knicks faced. You basically had an imbalanced roster, and you had limited trade assets, and you also don't have rookie skill players because you traded out your rookie skill players for previous moves. It's like they made 3 consolidation trades in the span of 9 months?
It was very fast. Yeah, because they did the Mikal and they did OG, Mikal, Towns all immediately. And again, if you look at it like value wise, these are very good moves if we look at everything in terms of like the quality of players and the contracts and everything like that. Those were great. I think it just sucks right now that like Towns' defense at the 5 just isn't anywhere near it needs to be, because the Knicks basically went from the best defensive center rotation a year ago to the worst.
Again, the whole Mikal trade, what was the pivot? What were they going to do if they didn't trade for Mikal Bridges? Again, the salary that went out of the deal, mind you, Bojan only makes $19 million this year. And again, he's injured. He hasn't played a single game this season. So you can't even carry him into the season because you just have $19 million in dead cap. And you kind of need a rotation talent. There's no other move than this could have made.
I'm trying to look up right now who was on similar salary.
Yeah.
Right? So like
Keldon Johnson?
Yeah. You're looking at, right, you have Norm Powell, Duncan Robinson, Jakob Poeltl, Miles Turner, Vucevic, Derek White, weren't getting him. Marcus Smart, no idea what's going on with him. Lonzo, that's the risk. DeAndre Hunter, I mean, maybe.
Yeah, but at the time, nobody wanted DeAndre Hunter because nobody
that's what I'm
thought
saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no one really out. Like, you weren't getting Colin Sexton. You already had Josh Hart on the team. Patrick Williams stinks. Harrison Barnes stinks. You weren't getting Malik Monk. Like, there were no other moves to make, and you got someone who, again, I think is like, I don't think Mikal is any sort of problem on this team. Like, in like the grand scheme of things, I know it was an overpay, but like, I don't think that's really the issue. I really don't. I think the sticker price is just I don't know.
What filler? Like, this is what y'all don't understand. The Knicks are a second apron team, which means that they can't exceed the second apron. They were clearly saving Julius and Dante, so assume they're not remotely in the deal. What is Mitchell Robinson and Bojan Bogdanovic getting you? Two guys who haven't played a single NBA minute and 5 picks.
Yeah, so like those salaries, we're talking closer, I think, to $30 million in that case, right? So we're talking about like Chris Middleton, Nick Claxton, Tyler Hero, DeJounte Murray, right? Like, that's maybe Andrew Wiggins. Like, okay. Like, Jeremy Grant. Those are the guys we're talking about with those two. And I don't think it was going to work. Maybe Tobias Harris. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what was actually available. And I don't know who actually would make sense, because these salaries have to be so precise.
Yes.
With these trades. So like we're talking a very specific, like Porzingis was at $29 million. Celtics weren't trading Porzingis. Devin Vassell. The Spurs weren't trading Vassell, right? Like DeJounte Murray, not good. Jordan Poole, not good. Jeremy Grant, not good.
Not good.
Drew Holiday, not being traded. Chris Middleton, maybe.
Not good.
Right? But like, that's what, like, that it's basically you had Wiggins. Or you, like, I
and they weren't trading Wiggins at the time.
Yeah, like there weren't options. The only option was Mikal Bridges, and again, I think he's been really good this year. I don't think
he's been fine, but the problem is the problem with Mikal is he's been fine, but he's a bus rider. He's not a bus driver. He's not somebody who's going to like drive offense.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's very, like, he's good in his role. The problem is like you probably need someone better on the roster to really maximize him.
Yeah, you need somebody above him in the hierarchy who can essentially play next to Brunson.
Yeah.
Which is the whole point of what we're getting to, which is like, oh yeah, if we had Derek White, then Mikal Bridges makes a lot more sense to this roster.
Yeah, like significantly more sense, because yeah, and again, Derek White, not available to trade. Drew Holiday was not available. Like, do you want DeJounte Murray on this team?
No, DeJounte Murray just tore his Achilles.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what? Like, those are the options. Like, there are no.
Not to mention, he's the best friend of your star, who conveniently, right after the trade was executed, signs a very, very favorable extension.
Yes.
Do you not think that those things are related?
Yeah, like the Knicks are trying to thread a very specific needle. They don't want to operate in the second apron. They're trying their best to avoid it. They're trying to basically get as high as possible to it without getting there. And that's really difficult to do.
They had to make a trade. Like, this is what I'm saying. They had to make a trade. Everybody knew, like, the industry expectation was, oh, the Knicks are going to make a trade on the life of this Brunson contract before he either opts out or extends. This is the cheapest Brunson's ever going to be. You have to make a trade.
So there's also another thing to kind of keep in mind. Like, again, you're basically having, who would be back on the scene would be Bojan Bogdanovic and Shake Milton. Right? The Knicks already traded RJ and Quickly for OG. Like, who was playing? What was the move? So ultimately, I guess you have 5 picks, and you could do something, I guess, right now. But the starting lineup would have been Brunson, Deuce, OG,
Brunson, Hart. Yeah,
it'd be Brunson, Hart, Deuce, OG, and Towns, and then you don't have a bench, right? Like, you don't have a bench.
The Pelicans were trading Herb Jones. The Pelicans that made it know they're not trading Herb Jones. Like, the Pelicans want to compete. They traded DeJounte Murray. They traded DeJounte Murray.
It would have been great if that was a possibility, but I don't think it was.
Yeah, like this is like that was realistically the issue. The Knicks had 3 goals. They wanted to avoid the second apron, they wanted to add talent, and ideally they wanted to get somebody whose contract makes it so that they can make other moves alongside it. They wanted to turn the salary into something more profitable. And again, they don't have salary to trade because Boyan was expiring. Randall would have needed a new deal, and Dante is good salary, but he doesn't make enough. Like, you can't keep the cupboard stocked in this case because these picks are diminishing in value. Like, these picks are diminishing in value. 2 of the 5 picks we traded are gone this offseason.
Yeah, they're not even that good picks either.
Exactly. They gave up the 21st pick and the 25th pick right now.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's fine. Like, to me, I'm like, I don't care. Like, that's good.
Yeah, so this is the problem. It's you need salary to make trades. The Knicks were actively running out of salary, and they had giant holes in the roster that needed to be filled going into the season. And the wings that were as good as Mikal Bridges are not available.
Yeah, I don't know who was. I just listed all the people with salaries who was available. There's no one. Again, you're banking on, like I said, like Jaden McDaniels, Aaron Gordon's not being traded, Kadavis Caldwell-Pope, like not happening.
And he got signed in free agency, so he wasn't an option for us.
Like I don't know who did you want Kyle Kuzma? Like I don't. There's no one available.
Yep, like this is the reality. Like you need salary to make deals, and if you don't have salary, you can't make deals. And you also have to balance the salary with the fact that there are certain teams who aren't going to trade their good players.
Yeah, like it wasn't happening. This is honestly this is probably like what the Knicks did in this offseason, I really think was like really good. We're just seeing a significant limitation with this team, mainly because they lost their edge on defense. Towns can't play defense, and Tibbs isn't coaching, right? Like that's really what it is. It's like Tibbs isn't coaching right now. He doesn't give a shit. They're just kind of cookie cuttering their way through the regular season right now, just hoping that Brunson or Towns gets hot. They don't do anything special on offense or defense, and we're just kind of stuck at this ceiling that they're at, and it's unfortunate. They're going to have to wait until the offseason. Hopefully something shakes up. Like the one good thing about having Towns now is that like it's such a large salary that for the big, like the actual like players of like no, who are going to make a change. Like you don't like a Giannis, that like he becomes available that way. And that's really like what you're basically banking on is Giannis shakes free, which could happen. It could.
Yep. Anyway, I think we can call it there.
Yeah,
kind of keeps talking in circles, but thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for contributing. Thank you guys for talking and having conversation. I think we play again Tuesday.
No, Wednesday against the Sixers, I think, unless there's a game Tuesday.
Oh, no, Wednesday. Okay, that'll be our get right game. Hopefully.
It better be. I swear to God, it better be, because I'm tired of watching these losses. Like we missed out on 40-20.
Yeah, no, we're not contenders, and everything's over because we missed out on 40-20. All right. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.